Well, that won't matter. Welcome to the new episode of Moped Outlaws. Um, I forgot to ask Greg if he was ready, so you probably got a non sequitur. But today, our guest is Yasmin, the Bitter Waitress from the Bitter Waitress Podcast and a professional food server somewhere near Toronto. And it was a really great conversation. We covered her life experience. We talked a little bit, or I talked a little bit too much about my own experience in the restaurant business at the beginning. So you get some insight there. She's such a warm-hearted person, and the conversation's great. I think you will enjoy quite a bit of it. And if you go to the end of the podcast, you'll get to hear about how we all think about the current dilemmas in the United States political and international situation. And so there's a kind of reaffirmation of the Canadian-US bond. And that was really great and warm. And she's a wonderful person with some really keen insights. How about you, Greg? What did you think?
Thought it was great. So subscribe, support Blast, support Compton Cowboys. Enjoy this episode with Yasmin, the Bitter Waitress, and ride on.
Sis, hallo?
Blijven.
Stuur zeker wegen them.
Yo je iets niet, joh.
Two outlaws on the lam, taking the back roads through America.
You can't drink enough coffee for this show.
And now it's time for Monday Madness with the Moped Outlaws, Greg and Mark.
Oh,
Welcome to another bumpy ride with the Moped Outlaws. Today, our guest is Yasmin, and she is known as the Bitter Waitress. She has her own podcast, and she has tons of experience in the wonderful sociological experiment we call restaurant work. Now, both Greg and I have deep histories in that. So this is going to be a lively discussion about food, about the people who make food, and about how you customers often get talked about in the walk-in.
It's very true. It's true. I love that. Thank you for that perfect introduction, because if you are a not nice customer, there is chatter about you in the kitchen. So beware.
Yeah, and restaurant workers, like, I think personally that everybody should have to do like 2 to 3 years in the restaurant business as just a sociological training. Like, there's so much to learn about how people operate and how we communicate with each other, teamwork, right? Timing, because food has to be made to come up together and stay hot by the time it gets out to everyone. And then, it's really helpful if you go from dishwasher all the way up to cook, because you learn all of the different things that people are experiencing as a result of their position.
That's so true.
A lot of people refer to things as servers now, like food servers. And I think that's to sort of deconstruct some old, patriarchal stuff around the word waitress, but you still use waitress.
Yeah.
Do you think there's anything derogatory about the term waitress?
I don't think so. I mean, it's just a title. It's just a job title. And if someone is basing their whole identity around a job title, I think that's a little worrisome, because, you come home and you have your interests, you have your family, you have your friends, and that's what you should be basing yourself on, and not waitress or waiter, or, you know what I mean? It would lead for a very, very sad and empty life if that's all you thought of yourself as. So, I mean, honestly, I think it's just a job title. That's all it is.
What brought you to bringing together a podcast called The Bitter Waitress? What was it that inspired that, and what's your journey been like?
So, my poor husband would get an earful after work every day, and he would be like, babe, it's just leave it at work. It's fine. I'm like, but us customer service workers, we need a voice. We need a voice. And so that's how it sort of like came about, was just this feeling of in not just serving, not just restaurant work, but if you work at a hotel, if you're a bartender, if you're, behind the counter at the airport, like it's all customer service work. We all have to suppress our feelings and just put on this big happy grin. And inside, you're dying inside every day. And, I think it's a really invisible job role. And that's really the root of it. Like people just see you as, okay, they're just going to bring me my food. They're just going to check me in. They're just going to do this, that. But nobody really understands what goes on, I think, behind the scenes unless you've worked it. And so I think it was really important to put that out there.
All right. So what's the positives of being a waitress? Because you were in the digital career industry, right?
I was, yeah, for a long time. It was interesting. I actually, so by trade, I'm an engineer. I graduated from university with an engineering degree. I did it for 13 years. And I mean, the IT industry has evolved a lot since I've graduated. So, and I picked it when I was 18 years old. When you look back, you're like, oh my gosh, I was a kid. You don't know what you don't know. And I entered into the industry, and it just became this whole thing where you were so easily accessible. And that does not work well when you have a family, when you're just getting these like text messages and you're trying to change your kid's diaper. You're like, I need some boundaries here. And it was very, very heavy in travel. So, with restaurant work, when you leave, like you leave. So that's, I think, the beauty of it. Nobody bothers you unless you really make a customer angry. I don't know if they're going to follow you home or whatever, which I hope that wouldn't be the case. But, restaurant work is nice where you can leave it at work. You can come home and have your family life. And I think that's sort of the beauty of it for me anyway, unless you're a restaurant owner, in which case there's a lot of work that goes into it. Like it's endless. I see my owner. He's like, he's like, Yasmin, I never get a break. I'm like, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
What's the size of the place you current work at? And like, I came from both the little tiny hole in the wall and then the bigger places. I've done a lot of different things, but I'm just curious, where are you now and what's like your favorite size? How many tables? Like, do you like smaller places, bigger places? What's your favorite?
I would say just like smaller places are nicer. In my opinion. I think it's also like a little homier, cozier. You've got the regulars that come in that are really like excited to see you and talk to you and catch up. So there's that. And plus we live like in a smaller town too. So you just feel really connected with your community, which I really enjoy. And you get an opportunity to, socialize. Like a lot of my, son's kids from his school and their parents will come to the restaurant, and it's like so nice to see them and catch up and how are the kids doing and whatnot. So for me, that's been sort of the sweet spot. I'm curious though, how about you? I mean, did you like a certain size of restaurant when you guys were working in one?
Well, we both ended up working at the same place together for a while, and I started with that place before Greg did.
Yeah.
And it went through a migration. At one point, it was a small place on one side of the building, and then it moved and it got to be bigger. So when I was just starting out as a dishwasher, and it was a small place, it was brunch, and it was like a debauchery vision. It was like, doing lines in the walk-in, waitresses sleeping with married men. And it was just like such a crazy scene in the early 80s. And I think after what I've just said, I probably can't say the name. It did get sold to another management, a different ownership. And I think that's when Greg joined. Did you join before it was?
Yeah, I was there with Spencer.
Got it. So what I loved about it was that it was no holds barred. Like the type of culture that we had there was, we didn't put up with any crap. The waitress is always right was one of the ground rules, right?
Oh,
Yeah. So it was really different than traditional restaurant service ethics.
okay.
We would push the customers to behave according to what we wanted. And one of the trade-offs for that was the food was outstanding. Like the
Mm.
level of quality that went into the brunch ingredients was outstanding. And that was why it was such a success. And the just what I loved about it was came right out of high school into that business as a dishwasher, and it was the first thing that got me launched in my world. And so while I was working in that restaurant, I went to junior college,
Yeah.
and having the ability to make a little bit of money and keep myself going and then not starve to death because there was always food to be had, right? Even if
And
I
good
was
food too, I guess. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And so if I needed to, I could take home a plate after the 3 o'clock close time, and then
Wow.
I would get through dinner, right? And on my meager budget and with my little tiny roommate situation, but the culture of it was just wild. Like this is not the usual restaurant experience, like what our experience was. And then the building owner decided to remodel, but we had a lease, so he had to build us another restaurant on the other side of the building to make room for the new tenant he was remodeling for. And why are you laughing, Greg?
Because you're going deep in. This is an interview with Mark, with Yasmin and Greg.
I'm sorry. Because she asked me, right? So I love this part of my history. So in deference to being the center of attention, I'm a attention whore, just to be clear. We did some crazy stuff, and it got better and better and crazier until it couldn't anymore.
And then it shut down, or did you like
No, well, the new ownership, basically the old owner sold and moved to Mexico.
Oh.
And then the new owner wanted the character and the menu to stay the same.
Right.
And so they hired people that understood. And by then I was a cook. Right. And so we were able to preserve the menu and preserve the food style. They did make some changes to the ingredient sources, so the food did get worse. But
Oh,
most people didn't notice.
okay. Well, that's good. Customers
But I
coming
noticed.
back.
And so we would have these fights about, because at a certain point, it was when I made an omelet, I was putting pure organic butter in the pan to make the omelet with. And after this transition, I was getting 2/3 margarine, 1 part butter to put in my omelet pan.
Yeah.
And there was like, can we make hollandaise with margarine? I'm like, no, you can't do that. So there were battles.
There were lots of battles. Yeah.
But that person who bought it is a super warm-hearted person. So
Oh, that's nice. I mean, a good management is so important. I mean, if you have just rotten managers that just want to blame everything on you, or the staff, it becomes you can't work there. Like it's just too toxic. You know what I mean? So at least the advantage was they were good people to work for, right?
right. And they were a waitress for years, that person who became the owner. So they understood how important it was to treat the customer right, and then to abuse the kitchen staff enough. Floggings will continue until morale improves.
Oh my goodness. No, don't abuse the kitchen staff. That's like the heart. That's the heart of the whole restaurant. If they're mad, that food ain't coming out good, let me tell you.
I'm teasing, really. So in your experience, what led you to the title Bitter Waitress? Is it because you have to eat so much aggression from the customer that you can't be, you're fully yourself with the customer, and that's what makes you bitter? What makes you bitter?
Yeah, exactly. Well, okay, so twofold. So the first one is, yes, you're just constantly just internalizing a lot of negativity during the day. I mean, you do hear positive things. Like there are a lot of people that will come in, especially like my regulars, like, oh, we're so happy to see you and this, that. And then there's the flip side to it where you unfortunately do get the bad apples, but nothing you can do about it. The problem is that energy has like nowhere to go. So then over the course of the day, my mood will just sort of tank. And you're trying to stay happy. You're trying really hard, but sometimes it doesn't work. So I think that's where the name Bitter part of it came from. And the other part was when I was actually I was still doing my undergrad, and there was this really cool like website that talked about like servers that had served celebrities. And it was just like, it was back in the day with like, oh, do you remember it? And and it was just all these posts from people who were talking about whether these celebrities were good tippers, bad tippers. And I think there was like something about bitter on the site. And I was like, oh yeah. And I remember that site, and they were talking about like bitterness. I'm like, this is perfect. So that's where the name generated from.
Did you have any personal challenges with ego from going from an engineer to a waitress?
In terms of
Like feeling like you're stepping down in society,
lesser than. I think so. It's interesting because some days I feel like people don't realize that it's the exact same thing. Like you would be shocked because in my roles in IT were autonomous. So I just had a ton of responsibility, no authority whatsoever. Like I would be project managing or business analyst, and I would need something from the development team, but I'm not their manager. And so it would be a negotiation. And then I would go to the client, but I'm not a sales manager. Like the sale has already been closed. So I can't, convince them to do anything outside of their contract or, take away things that maybe haven't, been implemented in our software. So it was just a constant negotiation in the IT industry. And I feel like there's a lot of that in restaurant work, because sometimes with the kitchen staff, you maybe we're on sort of like a busy run trying to get orders from your tables. And one table you can see is just getting really annoyed. They have all these tickets, and it's like, well, could you please prioritize just this one, please? I can see like you can just vibe a table sometimes from like a mile away, whether they're getting like really annoyed. So there's negotiation with that. Obviously with the customers, sometimes they're not happy with something. It's like, okay, well, can I offer you something like complimentary slice of pie to make up for it? So that piece of it feels like almost exactly the same in always just trying to bargain and negotiate and put on this happy face, and you're always like interacting with the back of house and with the customers. And in IT it was developers, which could be thought of like the back of house, and then the customers. So there were a lot of parallels in that. But there are days when I feel like, because people don't know my background, they feel like maybe they can talk a certain way to me. But if they saw me on paper, maybe they wouldn't talk like that to me. You know what I mean? It's just interesting. If you put somebody in like another environment, they're all of a sudden like less than, which doesn't make any sense. So it's been really humbling. You know what I mean? Like you said in the beginning, I think everybody, just even if it's for a year, just go to a restaurant, and it will really give you a better understanding of how to treat people and what kindness really means. So it's been interesting, that transition. It's like a backwards transition for a lot of people, I think.
So was there any internal challenge with like, I'm going to be a waitress now? Like with your friends, family, were they like, Yasemin, what are you doing? What the hell?
Yeah. I think with my family, I was going through a lot of health issues at that time. And I think they just wanted me to just be happy. So I didn't really get anything from my parents, but from like my extended family, I have my mom's cousin who is, I mean, I don't want to talk bad about family, but he's like never been very nice to me. He called me fat when I was pregnant. Like that's the kind of person I'm dealing with here. And it wasn't even like early in the pregnancy. I was like, third trimester, like I was big.
Jeez.
So, and then he was like, "Oh, I hear you left your really nice job for another job." He's like, "What's up with that?" And I'm like, I can't talk to you. And so people like that, I mean, you just have to ignore, because life is just about having some joy and happiness. And what is it to anybody else if I feel more joyful that I have my personal time back? You know what I mean? Like, I have no issues with IT. I think I learned a lot. I worked with some incredibly talented people, but when you're young, you don't know that when you have a toddler, you might have to be up until 3 a.m. because they're not feeling well. And then 2 hours later, you're in an Uber going to the airport to go on a business trip. Like, nobody talks about these things. And so I think it's just whatever's in your heart and whatever makes you happy should be what's most important. And so for a little bit, I did like see a little bit of that pushback around me, but then I'm like, gotta just be like, some of those older people, doesn't matter.
You didn't feel any internal self-judgment or self-deprecation, did you?
A little bit. Like I said, on certain days I do. Like one day somebody called me stupid and I'm like, you don't even know me. Like, how dare you? I asked her if she wanted alcohol in her beverage because it could be made with alcohol or alcohol free. And it was, sometimes people are designated drivers. Some people are sober. They don't drink anymore. Some people don't like the taste of alcohol. I mean, I don't know. And it's the times when in serving, that's the one thing you learn. It's the times that you don't ask where people get so angry at you. So I've always learned, ask. It doesn't even matter if it's a stupid question, just clarify it. Otherwise, people are going to be like, well, I didn't want this. I'm like, oh man, I should have just asked. So right. I asked, would you like alcohol in it? And she's like, oh, stupid waitress. Of course I want alcohol. And I'm like, whoa, okay. Calm down. It was just a question. You'll get your alcohol. So, I mean, on days like that, you feel like sort of crummy. Like, what am I doing? But then.
So, random question. It's morning time. You're out to brunch yourself with your husband. Bloody Mary or mimosa?
Ooh, mimosa. Yeah. I think my husband would get the Bloody Mary because they're like similar to Caesar's and he likes that like saltiness. So it would be like for the table, it would be mimosa for me and Bloody Mary for my husband.
What are some of the like strangest tips that you've gotten as a waitress?
Strangest tips. Like as in verbal tips or like money tips?
Well, yeah. Like, has anyone ever left you like their number or like a ticket to a show or anything like
cool. That? I wish I'd gotten like a ticket to a show or something. That would have been interesting. Would have been good for my podcast. I think this
stands out as far as good stuff, but most waitresses all have stories about the people that didn't tip, right?
Yeah.
You have some of those.
Oh yeah. There was one lady who was, I think she was there with her grandkids. I think she was the grandma and it was so busy. And I mean, I can only go as fast as the food comes out. I can only go as like, if I have like 6 other tables, I mean, I'm doing my best, and it was a Friday night. It wasn't as if, it's like Tuesday afternoon and I'm ignoring them and I'm up at the front on my phone or something like that. But it was really busy and the food came out a bit slower. And I was trying my best to be as attentive to them as possible. But, like you have to spread your attention between all of these tables. and then she, like, I could tell she was a little grumpy, and I was like, hey, is there anything else I can get you? Smiley, smiley. And then she was like, just the bill. And then I'm like, oh man, this is not good. And then she wanted to pay with her card. And in Canada, so we don't take the cards, but we bring like the actual like debit credit machine over to the table, and we do the transaction. So we never leave with the method of payment. And then so on the screen there's a tip option. I was like, did you want to leave a gratuity? Do you want me to bypass this? Because sometimes people like to leave cash. So she was like, no, I'll leave cash. It's okay. So we bypassed it. She paid. And then I went over to the table, and she didn't leave cash. She was lying. And then the funny thing was that I bumped into her again because she was taking her grandkids to the bathroom. I'm like, well, what do I do? I can't be a jerk. So I'm like, oh, have a nice night. And I'm like, I mean, lady, come on, just have a little bit of patience. I mean, I did my best.
Yeah, that I think is so interesting when I'm out with people and the people who have worked in a service industry of some type because of the way they tip.
Yeah.
People who've never experienced it, they'll leave like 9%, nothing twice.
Oh,
for the rest of us, we're like, no, you gotta do 20%, man.
It's so true. Who's been in a restaurant. Like they're just it's funny you said that. There was a table the other day, and it was 3 guys, and I brought their checks over, and one of them was like, oh, okay, yeah, I forget what he said, something like, okay, it's going to be 20%. And then they were joking with me, and I was like, hey, like, I just got the vibe, like they just knew about restaurants. And I was like, have you guys worked in restaurants before? And then one of them was like, yeah. And then the other one was like, yeah, my wife's a waitress. So they all knew, but you can like totally vibe it. You just go over, and they're just so nice, so accommodating. They make jokes with you. They tip you appropriately. Like they understand, and you can sense it. It's right. So obvious.
And they allow things to go wrong. They know, like, okay, that happens.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Did you invite them to your podcast?
To my podcast? I should have. My workplace doesn't know about my podcast. Just because I like to, I don't know, I want something sort of nice for myself on my off time. So I haven't said anything. So I sort of, but there are lots of like customers that come in, and I think to myself, like, oh man, like I would love to have them on the show, but I never ask.
So who do you like to have on your podcast? What kind of guests do you look for? Like we all use this thing called Podmatch, yes. But what other kinds of things do you look for in a guest?
Somebody who's funny, who has a good sense of humor, and who has a bit of like life experience. You know what I mean? That can actually sort of relate with some of the things that I talk about. And nothing against people who are younger whatsoever. But I think once you've really gone through the paces of, having a family and having a kid and, trying to balance everything, it's like problems are sort of become different. The things that I used to worry about when I was like in my 20s, I'm like, why was I so worried all the time? Like I should have enjoyed my 20s. I'm so silly, like all that time wasted on worrying about, I don't know, an engineering assignment, and for what, So those are some of the things I look for. Yeah.
So how do you introduce that insight to your children?
I think it's just like little things here and there. So I have just like one son, and he sometimes he can be a little sensitive. So I don't want to overwhelm him with advice and make him feel like he's done something wrong. But just here and there, like, oh, hey buddy, my feet hurt. Would you mind getting me some water? Mom does this all day long. Hint, hint. So like little things like that for my son.
Well, no, I'm wondering more about the insight of enjoy your life.
Oh, I think just, if he comes home and he's like, oh, today this and this happened. I'm like, no, I understand, but it's okay. Like, just you're a kid, just have fun, enjoy it. And just it's sort of generic, but he's 10, so I don't know how like deep I can get with it. I don't want to scare him also. But I think as he gets older, definitely, when in his high school years, it'll be easier to have those discussions where it's like, I understand this may be something really huge now, but just enjoy being this age. It's really important because you're going to look back and you don't want to feel like you wasted it, like being worried about smaller stuff.
Yeah. A lot of the restaurants I've gone to over the years have had these pictures with athletes or famous people
Yeah.
as they come to the restaurant. Who's like the most famous person that you've been, served or had a photographic moment with as a result of being in the restaurant business?
Oh, I mean, I wasn't there, but they came into the restaurant. It was, but it was exciting when I heard about it because I'm a big fan. So the band, Billy Talent, they're actually Canadian, and the first drummer who now has MS, so he stepped back, but his family comes in. He came in once, so I was like, this is so exciting. Like they built like such a great following for themselves, and in the 90s too. Like it wasn't easy for Canadian talent. Like back then there wasn't social media and all this great stuff that we have now to get your name out. So they did really amazing with their careers, and like they've come to the restaurant. I'm like, that's very cool. That's very cool.
You mentioned earlier that you're in Toronto, and I have been to Toronto once. And what I noticed about it is that it is really deeply cultural. Like there's a lot of different types of food in Toronto, and that in some ways it's more cosmopolitan than people might think. People have they have these thoughts about Canada and so forth. What are some of the range of different foods that you like to try in the Toronto area?
Oh my gosh, there's so many. It's so before me and my husband moved out to the suburbs, we were in like downtown Toronto, so just like the core of it. And there's so many great restaurants. There was one restaurant we really liked. It's a Japanese restaurant where they had the food come out like on like the boats. Yeah. And you would just like pick up what you wanted. They had great sake. That was one of our favorites. So we really like good like Japanese food. There's a lot of like really good Indian cuisine, especially on King Street. I mean, I don't know if anybody listening knows of the area, but yeah, just amazing. Like the flavor is just phenomenal. So there's Indian food. Let's think. And I think just like some of these like little hidden gems, like there was this, I remember this like little, it was just a cafe. It was just wraps. It didn't really have any real like cuisine, any ethnicity behind it, but it was just like wraps and breakfast sandwiches and coffee. But they made it like, the food was so good. It was like they made it with love or something. Like we never had a bad experience there. And it was just this little cozy cafe near our condo. So I don't know, lots of great places to eat.
When I was working in the restaurant business regularly, one of the benefits of that was you get your meal, right? You get the house meal, or you get, right? And you get to take a break and eat. And my question to you is, are you like someone who wanted to work their way through the menu and try all the different dishes with your daily meal? Or do you have like the one that you go to? And if so, what is that?
Oh no, there's a go-to. But that's how I am in my everyday life. Like my husband's always like, just try something new. I'm like, no, but I like it. He's like, don't you want something different? I'm like, no. So we're chicken and ribs, like where I work at. And so they make really good rotisserie chicken. It's like
Mhm.
not like your grocery store rotisserie chicken, like it's so fresh. And so it's just like it's the white meat of the bird, and they make really good fries. And so that's definitely the go-to.
Chicken and fries.
Chicken and fries, can't go wrong.
All right.
Right. One of the other things that I notice about waitresses in particular, I think especially in America, because I have an American perspective and not a Canadian one, is that there's a fair amount of misogyny and a kind of entitlement that men sometimes bring to the table and how they treat a female server, a waitress. Has that been your experience? Do men step over the line with you? Like, and if someone calls you honey or like gets a little too forward, does that happen to you very frequently? And how do you handle that?
So for me, it does not happen. I think just people see, like, I'm married, I wear my wedding ring at work, so people are just like respectful. Like nobody's ever said anything like odd to me like that, where I'm like, oh, like, no, thank you. But generally it's to the younger waitresses. So not only is there misogyny, but I feel like there's also a lot of ageism in that industry. Like once you hit a certain age, you're considered like old, like really old, which isn't fair. Yeah, I think like for in terms of men, I think they definitely, like, we have a couple of male servers, and it's so obvious the difference in treatment between the females and our male servers. Like our male server could get away with saying certain things, like saying no to certain things. Oh, like, oh, can I use this discount, this coupon, this, that? And he'll be like, no, we're not allowed to do that. And they'll take that. But if a female says it, it's like, well, can I talk to your manager? Like there's just like, you don't know what you're doing type of, I guess, feeling deep down that maybe they don't realize they're doing it. But it's really unfortunate. It's really unfortunate. But me and another coworker have had a long discussion about how many times and how much harder we will have to work versus our male counterparts in service, because it's like the expectation is more of women for some reason. I don't know why, but I think it does tie into the misogyny. And I think like, I love our owner. He's great. He has treated me the best over the time that I've worked there, given me whatever I needed. Like I said, I had some health issues. He was really accommodating with that. But I mean, even he is like, I prefer to hire female waitresses just because that's sort of like the industry norm. So I think it's just really baked in there, and it's super unfortunate. And I'm not sure why men will come in and they'll respect a man telling them that, something isn't available or something, from the kitchen they can't do. And they'll be like, okay, no problem, bro, no problem, man. And then for a female, they will get madder at us. So it's challenging.
Do you guys pool your tips, or do you get to keep your own? And do you notice discrepancies between the way that the women in the restaurant get tipped versus the men?
So we do keep our own tips, but I mean, everybody still talks. So we sort of know what's going on with each other's stuff. So I think it's funny because the older ladies, they really like the younger male waiters. It's like, and they will get tipped extra. I'm like, what the heck? I just served those people last week and you got like triple what I got. Like, what's wrong with me? But it's not anything. It's just, unfortunately, it's just, sometimes people have this like little soft spot. They're like, oh, it's a young guy. We're going to help him out. But I don't know.
Well, I think there's also, as we get older and we start becoming invisible, and there's even the attraction element is going out of our life. And so here's a server, and part of the service is attentiveness. And I imagine if I was a little old lady and this young guy was very attentive,
Yeah.
it warms me up.
That's very true. I anticipate that's probably one of the driving reasons for that, because a lot of us females are also attentive to our older patrons, but yeah, I mean, getting attention, I bet especially if you're like retired, much older, well, it would be heartwarming. Yeah. No, that makes me feel bad.
You'll see in 30 years when you're sitting at the table.
I guess so.
A young guy comes up and you're like, oh, that's nice.
Here's a 20, young man. Thank you. I love it.
Meanwhile, dinner was $80.
That's oh my goodness. And they're so sweet. Like our older patrons, they just sometimes they get stuck in sort of their time period, and they're like, here's a toonie. You're like, it's $100. Oh, please. This isn't how it used to be, but what's the old saying? Beggars can't be choosers, so it's all right.
Now, in the United States, the folks that do this work, they didn't used to get taxed on their tips, and now they get taxed on their tips. And there's not a lot of social services here. Like working in a restaurant and getting health insurance would be kind of an anomaly. Except in San Francisco, where we are, where it's the law.
Yeah.
But does Canada have a really clear, specific sort of approach to benefits for you? And how does retirement savings work for someone like you?
Yeah, so there isn't a clear approach to benefits. I mean, I'm sorry to hear that there aren't benefits in the States, because in Canada, I mean, we do have free healthcare. Like if something happens, it's an emergency, let's say you break your arm, you go to the emergency room, you don't get charged for that. So I can only imagine how stressful that would be for like the American workers, servers who don't have benefits. So there are some restaurants here that do offer benefits. Some don't. It's really up to, if it's like a chain restaurant, it's up to the chain. If it's privately owned or independently owned, then it's, up to the owner whether he wants to extend that or not. But you're really just living off your tips just to pay for things. I mean, even though we have free healthcare, prescriptions aren't for free if you don't have benefits. Eye care isn't for free. Dental isn't for free. So it's really doctor and like hospital type visits that are covered with the Canadian healthcare system. But you just have to be really, really good with your money, and make sure that you're putting, like during the really peak periods, put some money aside. Always have a savings. Don't go nuts when you're making like good money, lots of tips. Definitely save, and that's really all you can do. And put into retirement, put into your RRSPs, because there isn't real like a lot of help out here with that either.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't realize that you are part of Great Britain, right? Canada is connected to the Crown.
Part of the Commonwealth. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
And how does that affect the way that you plan for your retirement years? Is there something about that tax system that works to your benefit, or that feels a little weird? Like, money's going to Britain and not staying in the Canada. How does all that all work?
So it's interesting, because even though we're part of the Commonwealth, we operate independently. So for example, in Britain, they actually, from what I've heard, they are taxed on just like let's say they have like their paychecks, they're taxed on that. They don't have to file income taxes like at the end of the year like we do. So their taxation structure is actually different in the UK. And here, and I'm assuming it's similar to the States, where you have like tax time, and you have to submit like proof of your income and all these things, even though on your paychecks you are getting taxed. You know what I mean? So there isn't anything that Britain provides us that helps us. I think it's more if within like the leadership system, if like there's a need or there's some sort of like alliance there, but otherwise, like, yeah, there's no help. Sadly, it's
Do
turning.
they tax your tips?
Sorry.
Do they tax your tips?
Yep. Income is income. So anything
So you have to declare every night how many tips you got?
at the end of the year, that's when you declare everything.
Got it. So you have to track
You have to
yourself.
track it. Yeah, you have to
Wink,
be
wink.
smart with money. I'm not just a bitter waitress, but I'm a bitter financial person. Financial analyst, I guess.
A lot of the conversation in our modern era centers around how people's jobs are somewhat subject to robots and AI replacement. And it seems like the waitressing trade isn't likely to be supplanted by any of that. Do you guys talk about that at all?
That's so funny you're asking me that. I just posted an episode about bots on my channel like 30 minutes before we had our we were having our discussion. So actually there are bots that help us right now. They're like these little server bots. They're like little cubes. We don't have any in our restaurant because they're very pricey to lease. They're like $800 to $900, and basically their function is to assist the waiter or waitress in bringing out plates. So sometimes you have like a party of 10. A lot of people can't carry 10 plates. So the whole idea is those extra plates would go on this like little server bot because it's got shelves on it, and it would come out with you, and then you can serve everybody, and it would be just more efficient. So, I mean, the bot doesn't do anything. I mean, it can sing happy birthday in different languages, which I don't like, but I guess it's got a one up on us there. So its function isn't very extensive right now. But I mean, I don't know what the future brings. Like if you look at some of this technology now, it's actually really incredible. Just communicating with it. It's so intelligent. And there are a lot of conventions out there for AI technology where they have, they're like robots that look like humans, and they can actually like walk, and they can communicate, they can interact with you. So, I mean, I'm not sure what the future brings. That technology is evolving very, very quickly. So I don't think anybody's job is safe, to be honest with you.
Got it. So as an engineer, do you see the possibility that you could create a kind of linkage to how technology could continue to grow and bridge this gap, and that you could leverage that for your own benefit?
I would personally just want to steer clear of that, because I think that type of technology right now is not regulated. Like I said, it's changing so quickly that to try and come up with something now, like it changes by next week. So I think looking at it at this point in time, I think it's just moving too quickly, and we have to let the dust settle a little bit before investing a lot of time or money into something, because there have been I mean, I don't know how much you guys follow like AI and all this stuff, but there was this, so they came out with these agents that are autonomous, and they're called open bots. And OpenAI, the company that owns ChatGPT, bought it out. And so my husband was really interested in it. So he got one of these like bots before it was bought out, and he plugged in Claude, which is another AI, which is sort of similar to ChatGPT, but it has more like coding and development strengths in it. So he used that as sort of like the backbone for this bot. And then once OpenAI bought it out, Claude, like the company that owns Claude, Anthropics, banned these bots. They're like, you can't plug our technology into that. And that was a week. Like that all happened in a week. It's just, like I said, like it's just moving too fast and you don't know like what's going to happen next. So, and even in politics, I mean, the fact that I think it's interesting, Anthropics was like, no, we don't want to be part of,
The
killing.
military limitations that they set up were very specific, yes. But in
Yeah,
terms of my question, as an engineer, that bot that brings plates to the
yeah,
table, it needs infrastructure, both in terms of how to know which table it is and where that table is to
yeah,
drive itself to the table. And that's all involved with Wi-Fi and networking and data management.
right.
So do you see how you could hedge yourself in the future-proof yourself, if you will, by
Yeah,
learning to create some potential new linkages to when the robots are doing more of it, that you
yeah.
could be someone who helps install that stuff or creates the highest level of performance for that particular technology.
Yeah, it might be a cool little business venture for us just to just to be in there. And that type of technology, when you have those companies, you need somebody with some experience in that field. And yeah, it would be interesting to be part of that if that was what was coming down the line. Yeah, for sure.
Got it. But you're not entrepreneurial in that regard.
Not in the tech regard. No, it's just, I guess my heart just like isn't in it. Like there were a lot of people I went to school with who were just really loved everything about tech, which I respect, but I was never as enthusiastic to their level about it. So I don't think I have that entrepreneurial bug for something like that.
Got it. Greg, what is some of the most like wild memories you have about being a waiter? What are some of the craziest morning stories that you can remember? Do you remember any?
When I lit my shirt on fire.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about that. What happened?
I was a waiter and we had candles. So I was on the dinner shift and I'm setting candles out and I had a very loose shirt and it caught on fire and it was nylon or something. It was very flammable. So I ended up wearing a cook's coat that shift.
Oh my gosh. Were you okay?
Yeah, I was fine.
Yeah.
They called me, like Mark talks about the debauchery. My restaurant experience had a lot of chaos. They called me the asbestos man because I couldn't get fired.
Right, you would pull some stuff and then you wouldn't get fired.
Yeah, I'd get fired and then they'd rehire me 2 days later.
That's amazing.
That was crazy. And yeah, if it's okay, like I'm curious about what you see over the border as you look at us from a social political viewpoint. What are you witnessing the United States as right now?
Oh wow, that's a big question. I'm just gonna say if I feel for the American citizens who may not agree with some of the things that are going on politically, or who have been maybe caught in a bad spot. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Like that, I mean, anytime, because we are in the town we're closer to the border, so we do get some American tourists like coming in and out, or sometimes we have people who are visiting family and they come to the restaurant and they're from the States, and they're like the loveliest people. Like it's such a pleasure to serve them, and I have nothing against anybody. I just like I said, my heart goes out to people who face these problems that have arisen since maybe some new leadership has come in. I don't know. And we'll see what happens, like what the future brings. It's hard to keep up with. Something new comes out every day, and I mean, how is it down there? I guess the question from us Canadians, because we only see what we see in the news.
Yeah, it's tough.
And I think from a day-to-day aspect, for me personally, like my life is pretty normal as it has been for decades.
Yeah.
I think there's a plausibility of change to that. I see it wouldn't surprise me if we find ourselves in a World War III and my day-to-day is very different.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is that it's that's very heartbreaking to hear that people are thinking that that's a possibility. Like nobody wants that world, like that type of conflict on a world level. I think everybody just wants to exist and find some little joys in their life and be with their families. And it's just, I don't know, everything's just blown up.
I have a friend in France, and they had a very similar political thing that they avoided to a degree. England's been going through it. In the Philippines, people I work with are talking about similar social political environment. Is it happening in Canada as well?
I think we are trying to hold on the best we can to sort of what we feel is normal. And I think our prime minister is being honest with us when he comes out and says things like, like it's not, things are not going to be how they used to be. It's just not going to happen. So I think we're sort of trying to enjoy that normality for as long as we can until this change comes, whatever it is. So I think we just are sort of bracing ourselves for something, but we don't really know what it is yet. Like we see in our economy, the huge change, but we're like, okay, like little nervous, like what else is coming down the pipe? I guess we're just sort of like a deer in headlights at this point.
We're all holding our breath, wishing
Yeah.
it would be over.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
Yeah. Do you find that in your area where you live, that there is a kind of influx of immigration and that's changing the culture that you live in?
So during COVID, what happened was that we are the jobs that are like more of our like minimum wage jobs, those types of entry level positions were not being filled. And so these businesses were hurting for employment. And so we were accepting a lot of immigrants into the country. And I guess they were trying to like make up for this. And then so they let a lot of people into the country, but it was, I think, too quick, because then there was like no adjustment period, like because my parents immigrated here when they first got married, and they were like, when we came here, there was like a period of time where we sort of had to like integrate into the Canadian culture. And we still had our own culture, but it was sort of like known that we would have to understand like the culture of the country that we moved to. And so I think there were so many immigrants let in and it happened so quickly that didn't happen. So it created sort of this, I think, confusion where we have a lot of immigrants who are with their families and maybe haven't integrated into this culture as of yet. So I don't know. It's sad because the new prime minister came in and we sent a lot of them back home, which I think isn't fair, because if you're going to let people into the country, like, why are you letting their hopes up? So there's just been a lot on immigration. It's been really tough. It's been really tough. And on the families of people who it's a lot of work to immigrate. You got to learn the language, you got to find a job, you got to find a home, and those things are not easy. And I think that the government just sent all these people back after they realized that there were now too many people who were filling these lower level jobs, that the citizens weren't able to get in and get some of these jobs as well. And I don't know, it's been a really sad situation with immigration.
There's been a fair amount of folks from the US who've tried to immigrate as well to Canada. And
Yeah.
in the last year, our two cultures have been through a kind of argument with each other to a large degree, with the way that our president has said some rude things to your president. And there's a lot of entitlement and stuff. Do you notice more Americans trying to come into your area and your culture, and how do you think they're being received?
I quite honestly, I have not seen a whole lot of people, I haven't met anybody who's immigrated here from the States. I know some classmates of my son who have actually moved to the States for work. So I haven't, but I mean, I think everybody's welcome, but we just have to do it in a way that's not going to be like overwhelming to our economy or into the like jobs that we can provide to the citizens. If somebody wants to try living in a new place and they have, they're comfortable like leaving and coming here, that's fine. Like we welcome everybody with open arms in Canada. Like I said, I've served lots of American people at the restaurant. They're so nice. So yeah.
We've seen in restaurant prices about a 30% increase over the last 5 to 6 years. Like what you used to be able to get for brunch for $20 is now costing 30, 33-ish.
Oh yeah.
Do you have the same prices increases going on in your menu? And how have menu prices changed for you in the restaurant business there?
Oh, they're at our restaurant, they go up by like 10, 20 cents at a time. Like they're very incremental and they're over like a long period of time. So not to freak out the customers, but it's, they can tell. I mean, they're like, I had one customer the other day, they're like, your prices went up. I'm like, I know, but I mean, food prices went up, and at the end of the day, like they have to compensate. So, it's
Are you noticing that for yourself with the food that you buy for your house? What would you say Canadian inflation is like?
It's brutal. It's brutal. So, I'll give you an example. So, we'll take something like, so not food. I had the girl that does my nails. She has a toddler, and she bought diapers for her when she was a baby. And in a 2-year like time span, the diapers went up by $10. Like for what? And that's important to, when you have a young family, a young child, like this is not something where it's a luxury item, it's necessary. So just the prices have shot up quite a lot. And what you used to get for maybe like $50, you can't anymore. Like you're leaving the grocery store and paying like minimum $150. So it's gone up significantly for sure. And we're not really indulgent. Like we don't go out and just buy like fancy, unnecessary stuff like, ooh, let's get that caviar, babe. Like, no, like we're not going out and shopping and living like that. So it's wild to see the prices go up so much. What about you guys? Have they gone up like?
Oh, it's ridiculous. It's really crazy. Yeah. Same as you, basically.
Yeah. I'm wondering, here in the United States, there's a lot of talk of that suburban middle class being squeezed out, and that now there's the ultra rich and the poor.
Yeah.
And it's similar in Canada, do you think?
That's what it's feeling like. Like you're on such a tight budget that if anything happens, like it will just like, you'll break. Like you can't add any more expenses than you already have. So it's it really does feel like that actually here.
So as a mom with a young son,
yeah,
what are your grains of hope that you live day to day that you can imbibe in your son's life so that, this child grows up with a hopeful future.
Yeah. Well, I think my dad used to say this to me a lot, but he's like, every day is a new day. Every day is a new day. So when you wake up, don't lose that hope, because that day can bring you something new. So I think that's how we have to live, just day to day, because everything is so unpredictable right now. And we just have to take every day and live it as joyfully as we can. And that's all we can do.
Do you mind my asking, is Yasmin a Persian name?
Oh, it's Turkish, but close. Like, you're in the area. You're in the area. Did you know somebody named Yasmin who's Persian?
Well, I no, but I was curious because Mark and I were talking Wednesday about what's going on in Iran
Yeah.
with the United States, and the people we know of Persian descent are celebrating what's happening.
That's not accurate, Greg.
Well, that's accurate in my world.
I get it.
Persians I know are celebrating it. And I was wondering if you had a similar outlook, but you're from a different world.
I think just with what's happening in Iran, I mean, their leader is no longer, and he was pretty harsh leader. So I think maybe that's where the celebration comes, but I don't think the attacks and the conflict and the war is anything to be celebrated. But again, I mean, like, you can't understand until you walk in somebody else's shoes. So, and the news shows us only one vantage point of these conflicts most often. So we don't know what's going on there. We only know what's going on in our part of the country. So, I mean, yeah, it's just war in itself. It's very difficult to comment on, because we don't know what's going on with the citizens and that country. So
yeah, it's a rough time. We're in a human transition together, and one of the things I love about food is that this is a place where we can still gather and enjoy and have hope and remember what it's like to be humans instead of just looking at these devices. And I'm wondering, what's your relationship to social media?
you're gonna laugh when I tell you I hate it. I don't use it. I know I have my podcast. I know I have my YouTube channel, but I find it very toxic. And my hope is that, like, my son doesn't get it, and just it can be a very positive place, but it can turn very toxic super quick. And I don't know. I think so. There are so many different reasons why I don't have it. The first is I don't think that we should be just constantly talking to each other with DMs. I mean, go out, go have a coffee with them, go see them face to face. Like, what happened to that? We don't talk to each other anymore. It was funny because one of my coworkers was serving a table, and she's like, these people don't know how to talk to me. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And she's like, I think it's all the social media. And she's younger in age too. And this is coming from someone who's like more than 20 years my junior. So it's not like me saying social media is a problem. Even she knows in her generation, social media is an issue. So I think it just, like, it distracts, but it's so nice when you see people go to a restaurant and they're laughing and they're joking and they're spending quality time with the people that in their lives. Like, that's how it should be. But and what's funny is we came out of COVID feeling so frustrated that we were all isolated. Like, no, we need human interaction. But then we jumped right back into social media. So I'm like, what happened there?
I think COVID even escalated social media because that's what everyone was doing.
I know.
I think, TikTok blew up because of us being sequestered.
It's true. It's so true. How about you guys? Are you fans of social media?
Fan? No,
No.
I use it, and there are things about it that I enjoy and things I don't enjoy. There's more to it than that, but you asked both of us, so I'm going to leave space for Greg to answer as well.
I appreciate the creative aspects of it. Like just this morning, I posted a little thing I took and put music to it. So I like that.
Got it.
But,
Creative.
yeah.
There's a lot of creatives that have done really well for themselves on social media. So it's wonderful to see that type of stuff for sure.
Yeah. And I do my dream is a career in the entertainment industry, and social media is an integral part of promotion these days.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. It's so important. Like in the 90s, I don't know if you guys remember like Tom Green. He was this and he was just living out of his parents' basement, and then he had a show on cable. Like that's how you became like famous. Like you had to get like this little show on cable and like work your way up. And now like you have so many more opportunities. So I think it's wonderful for any type of creative, definitely.
It's not a great place for a conversation.
No, that's for sure. That is for sure.
Does someone cook for you at home, or are you still the main cook at home?
I do not cook at home. I can't do it. I can't do it. I don't want to be in the kitchen when I come home. My husband's so great. He's like, it's okay, babe, I got it. And I can't do it.
What's your favorite meal that he makes?
He's really good with we live in a condo. I wish we had like a barbecue because he's really good with like meats and stuff. But with the tools we have, like he can make like great steak, chicken. Like he's awesome at that type of stuff. So
you love chicken.
Chicken, yeah, I know. It keeps coming up, huh?
Well, I've really enjoyed your presence here and your energy. And Mark and I have a traditional final question.
Okay.
But before we go there, how do people find you and your podcast?
Oh, definitely. So my podcast, Bitter Waitress, you can find it on Apple, Spotify. Just look for Bitter Waitress. I've also got a channel on YouTube also called Bitter Waitress. So if you want to see the video versions of the podcast, they're up there as well. And I've also got a website called bitterwaitresspodcast.com. So you can check out my merch. If you want to help out a Bitter Waitress, there's a place to donate as well on the website. So a couple of ways to reach me.
And are you comfortable shouting out the restaurant, or would you rather leave that anonymous?
I will leave that confidential. Okay. I will leave it a mystery.
Completely understand. All right. So anything else that you'd like to touch upon before we wrap up?
Just, be like the comedians always say, don't forget to tip your waitress, because they work hard and they're running around and they're trying to feed all the patrons that come into the restaurant, and sometimes it gets busy. So don't forget about us, and don't forget to tip your bitter waitress, especially
if you find her. All right,
you find her.
Mark.
So this question we ask all our guests. It seems innocuous, but to us, it actually means a great deal. It comes from a really great place in our heart. And we find the answer when people answer honestly. It is one of the richest part of the experiences, is why we keep asking it. So here it is. Eminem or Foo Fighters?
Huh. Oh my goodness. I mean, I love both the music. This is very hard for me. I'm a child of the 90s, so this is very tricky. Okay, I'm going to go with Foo Fighters. I'm going to go
Alright.
with Foo Fighters. And the reason is because Dave Grohl was also a drummer for Nirvana. And that was like such, oh my God, the music and just like the whole energy back then when that band came out was like just incredible. And Foo Fighters, I mean, just their music is fantastic. But it's I mean, it's a hard question because Eminem is fantastic too, but we'll go with Foo Fighters. Foo Fighters, final answer.
Thank you so much. What a pleasure it's been to visit with you. May your tips always be full of generosity, and clearly your heart is full of generosity. We are so grateful to have spent time with you, and thank you, Yasemin.
Thank you very much, guys. I appreciate being on here with you.
Recording stopped.